Hello, everybody. Good evening. How are you guys doing? It's Thursday evening, 7 o'clock, my usual time to go live with a topic top of mind. And today we are going to go over food sensitivity testing, the pros and the cons, because nothing is ever black and white, even in nutrition, except for a few things. There's always exceptions. But food sensitivity test is never black or white. So let me just go um, live on my Facebook group here so that I can see who is watching and I can say hi. All right, you guys. So hold on. Sorry. Sorry about that. It's just always a little bit annoying to actually pull this up because I'm actually doing it on my phone so I can see who is on. Give me 1 second and I will be with you. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Now I'm good. All right. All right, you guys. So, welcome to my Thursday live show. For those of you who are new in this group, I know there's a lot of new people. Welcome to this amazing group, to this community that I'm creating here over on Facebook. I appreciate you all being here and engaging and really just connecting with me and telling me what your issues are, what your roadblocks are, so that I can create content for you guys to help you move forward in your health, as much as I can. Um, every Thursday, I go live with a topic top of mind. And today, I'm actually going to be talking about food sensitivity testing. It's a topic that always comes up in my conversations with women. And it's a really good topic because so many of us are dealing with bloating, GI issues, and we are reacting to food. So I did in the past, and there's a lot of you guys in here that do as well. And food sensitivity test is always something that comes up. However, it is not cheap. It costs money, and always the question is it really worth my while, and is it really worth my money? Or how does it relate to my gut health, and is it necessary for me to undertake a food sensitivity test? So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. If you guys want to, you can always ask questions in the comments. Let me know if there's any questions. Either put hashtag live or hashtag replay in the comments and then post your question, and I can certainly answer that for you. My name is Kudula Marshall. For those of you who are new, I'm a certified holistic nutritionist. I am registered in Canada. I practice out of Ontario, Toronto, Canada, and I am also a Hashimoto's thriver. So I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's 10 years ago, and I went through a long time, struggling with my health. And I went to nutrition school in order to help myself, really. And now I am supporting women with an autoimmune disease to step out of the overwhelm, heal their gut, heal their food sensitivities, and move from just existing to actually thriving with an autoimmune. So, let's talk about it. Food sensitivity test. Before we go into the pros and cons, we actually really need to understand first what is being tested. And we need to kind of like understand how the body works around allergies and food sensitivities, because those are two very different things, and we need to understand what is actually being tested. So, when you are undergoing a food sensitivity test, the branch of the immune system that is being tested, the antibodies that are being tested, are IgGs. When you are being tested for a true allergy, then the antibodies that are being tested are IgEs. So those are two different antibodies, and they are stemming from two different branches in your immune system. So, what is the difference between IgE and IgG? So IgE is an indication of a hypersensitivity or a true allergy. It's a very it's a very rapid immune response. It's something that your body reacts to immediately. The antibodies are very specific and can cause an immediate severe reaction. IgG is a little bit different. Sorry, IgG is a little bit different. So IgG is a secondary response, which is usually associated with a previous exposure to an antigen. So when we say antigen, we're talking about is something that's coming into your system that is pathogenic. So versus whether it's a bacteria, virus, um, yeah, usually bacteria, virus, sometimes parasites. All of these things are antigens, and your immune system is primed to respond to those. However, it is a much more um, I wouldn't say generic response, but it's a broader response to incoming pathogens. So it's basically your immune system responding to a threat, to a general threat that something is coming in that might be harming you. Our bodies actually have a vast amount of IgGs in our bodies. Up to 75% of the immune system are IgG antibodies, which is there for a reason to keep you safe because there's a lot of things that are coming in our into our system every day. So it is therefore delayed. It's a delayed response that your body is, um, you know, triggering because it is not an allergy per se. It's something that is being perceived as a threat, and then the your immune system is being mobilized in order to call in those antibodies to help remove the threat. And so that thereby it's delayed. So we need to understand that food sensitivity testing is something that test the IgGs with a delayed response versus the allergy testing is the IgE response, which is an immediate rapid response to something that you are absolutely hypersensitive to and that you have developed specific antibodies to. Um, that is number one. We need to really understand that. So so having said that, what are the what is it used for? What is the food sensitivity test used for? So we're talking a lot about leaky gut here. So leaky gut is something I'm not going to go into details right now, but food sensitivities are developing um, to because one of the biggest reasons for it is that your gut has become um, you know, I don't wanna say leaky. It's really something that your digestive system has become out of balance, and so your digestive system is not breaking down the proteins, into their, building blocks. The proteins are larger, and thereby, when they're going through, your gut lining, which has become out of balance and which has I'm just gonna say leaky, even though that's not the right term, per se, but so those big particles are going into your bloodstream and they can cause an immune reaction in your body. And so that is why so many of us with autoimmune disease, we have all of us really at one point we had to suffer or we are suffering from leaky gut, which means that the barrier has become out of balance. The gut lining has become out of balance and is letting those larger proteins through into your system. So now your system is reacting to those big proteins and perceiving them as a general threat because the building blocks are not being broken down into their individual building blocks. Some of them might be still joined together, which is not something that your body is recognizing, and therefore it's it's triggering a immune response, and that is the IgG antibodies that are coming into play. So why are we doing that? So food sensitivity test is something because sometimes we're having so many GI issues. We're eating so many foods that we are reacting to at all times that we can't really know anymore. Like, what is it that I'm reacting to, and what is it not? Because you might feel that you're bloated or you're having constipation or gas all the time. So one of the pros of a food sensitivity test is when you are working with a practitioner and you're really on your journey to, repairing your gut and restoring your gut, a food sensitivity test can come in handy, and it can serve a certain purpose in that it might show you which foods you are reacting to. So it can be used as a tool to clarify for you what foods your body has actually started an immune response against. And then while working with a practitioner, it can be used as a tool for a upcoming elimination phase of your diet in order to create this environment in your gut that allows you healing by removing those triggers that you might not have known otherwise. Um, so that is why this can be a good tool in a certain way while using it therapeutically for a purpose in order to know, remove it, and then work on repairing and restoring your gut with a practitioner's help. However, I will say that so research shows that those food sensitivity tests are not 100% foolproof. So because it's a delayed response, it can deliver a lot of false positives and false negatives. So it is not 100%. Having said that, it can happen that you get a false positive and thereby removing a food that you might not even have developed some sort of sensitivity to because of it. Um, on the other hand, what I often see as a downfall is that it oftentimes a lot of food is showing up for you. And that is not because the food is the culprit. That is not because all of the foods that you're eating are bad for you and you have to cut them out for the rest of your life. It's because of the state of your gut, really. That is the reason why you have started to create such a broad immune response against so many different types of foods because your gut health is out of balance, and your gut bacteria, your microbiome, your gut lining, your immune response is really really high. So that is where I see the downfall because of two reasons. Number one is that when we see that there's a lot of food sensitivities at play and we are being exposed to that whole list of foods that we might be reacting to. Number one, what happens is usually women go into some sort of shock because they're wondering how can I eat? How can I nourish myself? Like, what can I eat? Um, Um, sorry, I do got distracted. I have a comment. You're just seeing this. It took a while for this to come up. Going to have to watch the replay from the beginning. Okay. Yes, perfect. Let me know if you run into any sort of issues here. Okay. Yeah. So number one, the like I said, women are shocked. They see all these foods, the red flag goes up, and then they get overwhelmed. They go into almost like a frozen state. They're starting to eliminate and cut out a whole bunch, all of the foods on that show up on the list. Having said that, it might not even be accurate, right? So there might even be foods on there that show as a positive in terms of you reacting to it, but they're not because these tests are not 100%. But having said that, if you are doing that and then you're left on your own terms, it can really trigger anxiety. It can really start to trigger anxiety over food. And you're being left by yourself, and then you're cutting out all of these foods, and then you don't even know how to nourish yourself. So that is one of the downfalls that I see. Another thing that I oftentimes also see is that even when you're working with a practitioner and you're doing a food sensitivity test with your practitioner, the first line of action, of course, it's always the first line of action. I mean, that is the whole purpose of doing a food sensitivity test when it is, prescribed by a practitioner is to cut out the foods you're reacting to. And so a lot of people go on those elimination diets, which is okay if at the same time the goal is for you to heal and repair your gut and your digestion and your absorption, for you to really be doing the work that needs to be done on your gut health so that your immune system calms down and so that you are able to digest, absorb your foods, that the proteins are being broken down in its appropriate building blocks, so that your gut lining is starting to recover, and so that the absorption process happens properly. And that way, you will be able to introduce a whole lot of these foods in the future, because that should always be the end goal. It should never be the end goal that you are eliminating those foods. And then every once in a while, you can reintroduce them, you know, to have an immune reaction. And then the practitioner is telling you, you can have that food maybe once a week. Then you're experiencing your symptom, and then you have to stay away from it for your system to calm down. Like say, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, you're not allowed to eat these foods anymore. This is not the way it should be used because that does nothing for you. That just throws you in a complete anxiety, um, you know, corner. Um, you are cutting on nutrition, nutrients so much for extended periods of time that your immune system doesn't even get the nutrients that it needs in order to get stronger and rebuild itself. So I hope this makes sense. Let me know if there's any questions ever. Put them in the comments. I hope that I can see them. Let me just check if there's any comments, any questions. Let me know if you guys have anything you would like to share, any of your own experience that comes with this. If you had experience with food sensitivity testing before or not. So the last thing I want to talk about, and that is something that I see a lot of practitioners do not talk about, is what is called so-called oral tolerance. So here's the thing. And it's a huge thing in my opinion. So oral tolerance. What is oral tolerance? Unlike your allergies, which it doesn't matter how much of this food you are consuming, you have you have an immediate reaction to the with the IgE antibodies to the allergy. Doesn't matter, it can be just a trace and your body is reacting to it. However, with the IgG, it's different because it's a delayed response, and it also has a lot to do with how much of these foods you're eating and in what kind of state you are consuming this food. So, and that's where oral tolerance come into play. what I'm seeing in my practice and what I've been researching and reading on is when you are reacting to foods, it is for sure a good idea to do the elimination diet. But how do you reintroduce? So, what you can do is when you think about it, when you have a food and you eat the whole food and you starting to have bloating a couple of days later, you might have eaten too much of this food. Um, your oral tolerance might be too low to be able to digest this food. So if you are going down in the amount of food that you're eating, according to your oral tolerance, you might be able to digest and absorb very small amounts of this food a lot better, meaning that you might not even be reacting to small amounts of foods so much. So that is something we have to consider when we are talking about food sensitivities. Another thing is food combining, in terms of food sensitivity. Another thing is eating food in raw form or cooked form or steamed form. The food changes its chemistry, and it all comes down to how you are digesting and absorbing your food as well. So if you are actually, um, trying to make that food that you think you might be reacting to, try to make it more digestible for you and your system. You might be able to include these foods in a certain way for a longer period of time and then work on your oral tolerance to bring that up. Work on your digestion, your absorption, and your leaky gut, and all of these things. And then you might be able to eat more of these foods and in different forms and shapes, and that'll help you to not having to diligently cut out like all of the foods that are on the list in some sort of military style format. So this is really just something that I have discovered and I have researched on, and I'm actually leading my clients through this way so that it's not so daunting and that you are still, getting much more nutrients in a way that can help your body to recover. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. To summarize it, we talked a little bit about the difference of IgE and IgG, the way the allergic response is versus the food sensitivity response. How I see that food sensitivity tests can be helpful, the downfalls of it, them not being very accurate, or yeah, they're not 100%, and the downfalls of it. We talked a little bit about, and then we also talked about oral tolerance. So let me know if this was helpful for you guys. Yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful evening. And I will see you again next week for our next Thursday Live. Have a good night, everybody.